Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fanfiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
Tsunade tore through the trees of one of the many gigantic forests Hai no Kuni was known for. Her mission was clear, as the seal that reacted to Sasuke's chakra moved in her hand. She had stopped briefly when she came up to a scene. There were obvious signs of battle, uprooted earthen objects shaped like arrows that gouged through a tree's bark. Ganma Shiranui and Reito Namishi, decorated special rank jonin known for being a part of the guards of the Hokage, rested their backs on the base of one huge tree, critically injured. Shizune, Tsunade's apprentice, was working her magic on them with medical ninjutsu. What happened here? We were heading from the border and saw those 4 Oto ninjas. The direct bodyguards of Orochimaru. They proved too difficult to defeat and got Shiranui-san and Namishi-san cleanly. My other teammate, Tatami-san, is scouting ahead for more Otonins. You're going to be good here with them? I'm fine, Tsunade Shisho. There's no need to stay here. You should continue, replied Shizune without looking at her teacher, still focusing her green healing pulses on her teammates. Tsunade knew it was to be true, a current of pride running through her for her apprentice. She nodded approvingly at Shizune and launched herself back into the trees. Despite the dire situation, the last Senju alive was enjoying herself. Tsunade was reminded of her younger days, cutting and zooming through lands, in between trees and shrubs, pursuing her target. All it lacked was her teammates. All the blonde had to replace them now was a humming paper that glowed a blinking blue in the moonlight. Jiraiya had said it would lock on blue and shake uncontrollably if it was nearby Sasuke. An interesting and intricate seal her Hokage had made. The seal was gently pinging, pulsating as if it were a heart. Several miles away from her student and her teammates, minutes of Tsunade moving and flying through tree branches, the seal shook erratically. The seal thrummed in her hand almost painfully until she arrived a bit further at her destination, where she nearly threw the seal down to the ground. Putting the seal away in a storage scroll she had on her, she spotted the unconscious Sasuke. A bit further, 3 dead bodies of those Oto ninjas that kidnapped Sasuke were nearby. Immediately, Tsunade had to fight off 3 layers of genjutsu in the span of a few seconds. Ignoring the blossoming demonic images popping in her mind, she flexed her chakra, noting it took a bit of concentration out of her. When she finally arrived back to reality, Itachi Uchiha stood there, glaring at her with red, glowing Sharingan eyes. Tsunade immediately averted her eyes directly on him. Tsunade of the Sannin, uttered Itachi in a deep drawl. So, the rumors are true. You are back with Kana Hagakure. Itachi Uchiha, she returned slowly. What purpose do you have with Sasuke? Are you working for Otogakure? I am not collaborating with my little brother's kidnappers. Instead, I was taken out of my way to get here. Why did you come here then? To save Sasuke? That doesn't sound like something you would do. Come now, I believe we are past lies, and I am in no mood for acting. So, I guess you know that we know what happened during the Uchiha massacre. Still, it's a bit late to be playing the older, doting brother bit. You're with the Akatsuki, which means you're going after the Jinchuriki, so I don't know why would you go out your way to save Sasuke. My organization's objectives have little meaning to me at this moment. I wouldn't have been here if Konoha didn't have trouble repelling its invasions, Itachi mocked with a flat tone that was dripping with sarcasm. We're not to blame for your brother, Tsunade tried to start, but Itachi waved his hand at her. I am aware of Orochimaru's silly aspirations for my family's eyes. He had attempted a similar trick on me years ago. Surely, Orochimaru and his fogies share the blame, but Konoha failed to keep my brother safe, Itachi responded, and even through his monotone voice, Tsunade knew he was angry. They easily got into the country and killed nearly all of the northern border patrol. I was too busy cleaning up your messes to save Sasuke myself. So, what? You took care of them? Tsunade raised an eyebrow. If you didn't save Sasuke, then who did? Why, me, my dear? It was sudden, but the Senju woman felt it. Never a censor herself, she was nevertheless like other shinobi who were sensitive enough to get an inkling of her opponent's chakra. It was because she was used to being around people like that. Her teammates and her teacher, Hiruzen, were aware of the plethora of chakras swimming in her body. The feeling of this newcomer's chakra hit her like a tidal wave from a raging ocean. A red-haired man, tall, sporting a goatee, and fair-skinned, appeared from the trees, gracefully falling almost soundlessly. His violet eyes locked onto hers. There was a sereneness on his visage, which probably served to unsettle, but she remained calm. Ah, and so I meet you finally again, Tsunade-san. We met before? She genuinely tried recalling this man in her mind's eye. Ah, maybe in passing, but that was a long time ago, so I don't hold it against you. Not to come off as too forward, but you're still quite easy on my eyes. The moniker world's most beautiful kunoichi is very apartment. All fluff to get her off her game, Tsunade figured. She ignored all that talk, looking between the two men, still taking heed not to directly look into Itachi's eyes. Itachi was already a dangerous foe that would be tricky to take down. If need be, she was confident she could, but that would be taking a lot out of her. This new man, however, was an unknown. His chakra was strong, and he seemed too relaxed. She was willing to bet something else, as she addressed him again. You're an Uzumaki, aren't you? Itachi called you a friend, you're a part of the Akatsuki, aren't you? Nah, I'm called Ichiro though. Me and Itachi-kun are just friends, I have no affiliation with his organization. The man spoke freely, uncaring what Tsunade could make of this information. As far as the Uzumaki claim, you're correct. I was born and raised Uzumaki. A proud scion of that clan, as are you, of course. Many forget you are half Senju and half Uzumaki. Such is why you have such bountiful chakra. She took in the fact that he just admitted he was a censor with ease. The half Senju, half Uzumaki stuff was common enough knowledge, even if it was indeed somewhat forgotten by most in the world. That was because, even in equaling extinction, the Senju clan had a lot more popularity than the Uzumaki. She heaved a sigh. You Uzumaki are pulling out the woodwork these days. Indeed we are. And so, we shall rise again. The spiral shall go on forever. But I digress. I did not come to bore you with old Uzumaki adages. Let us return to why we are here. I was looking for my kin. More Uzumaki? It is a part of my job as such. As for Itachi-kun, well, I had called him here when I heard that Orochimaru's acolytes were trying to capture his poor baby brother. Call me an old mawkish fool, but family is very important to me. Like the Uzumaki, the Uchiha clan only have a few people left in the world. I wanted to help him. I informed him as soon as possible and helped him get here quickly. I also dealt with Orochimaru's men, got 2 people who I was looking for, and, well, here we are. And what? Now, you're not going to let me take Sasuke, is that it? Oh, no. Are you interested in taking Sasuke-kun, Itachi-kun? Ichiro turned his gaze to the slayer of the Uchiha clan. No. Well, there you go, Tsunade-san. I think Itachi-kun was just expressing his disappointment with Konohagakure. The way your village easily allowed Sasuke to fall into enemy hands, well, I am sure any family member would be angry. Truthfully, I share the sentiment. Ichiro's smile turned crooked, his tone dripping with mockery. A great village such as Konoha and you were still blindsided by Orochimaru's cronies? Humph, weaklings like them. I have seen the Hyoto border while passing through to your country. I wasn't impressed. A lot of your people were slaughtered by Orochimaru's little lab rats. Why, if it was not for Itachi-kun, I do believe all of them would have been wiped out completely. You should honestly be thankful. Tsunade did not let Ichiro's verbal sparring hurt her. What do you want? If you wanted to fight me to keep Sasuke, we wouldn't be having this dressing down, or whatever you're doing. I don't want anything. I've gotten what I wanted tonight. It's not about me. It's about Itachi-kun. Let him speak then. Tsunade turned her head to Itachi. Let's try again. Believe me when I say this, me and Jiraiya want to make it right. What Danzo know, not just him. No, the counselors, and the Sandaime Hokage himself, failed you that night. We've already started to make amends. Amends do not bring back a clan, Tsunade-san, returned Itachi. The counselors are no longer in power. And yet they still draw breath. You have not sufficiently punished them. But I will, like tonight, be the one to help again. So that was what Itachi was here for. Killing them won't make things for you smooth over. Listen to Dash. The time to listen is over. Tsunade rushed at the teen at a blinding speed as he started to utter that last sentence. Itachi wouldn't have been able to dodge it if he wasn't ready, but he was because he was never there. As soon as her fist made contact with his body, it shifted and was replaced by crows that all dropped dead to the ground and disappeared into smoke. Wow, Ichiro whistled. Slick movement by that boy there. Damn it, she cursed. Oh, don't beat yourself up for that one, Tsunade-san. Hell, Ichiro started to guffaw. I was wondering if he was still here or not myself. The boy's damn well adept with Kawairimi and the Kagebunshin no Jutsu. Even I could not sense the swap. Tsunade growled, already turning back to the way towards her village. Itachi hadn't been here, possibly all this time. Distractions and illusions created by a damn clone. She turned to leave. Not even a few steps in before she felt her wrist being pulled back by a golden chain that looked all too familiar. The Kongo Fusa, a technique only the Uzumaki would know of. This man was the real deal. Oh, there's no need to rush back now. You'll never make it time. Even if you could, I won't allow it. I want you to stay for a while. Chat it up with me for a bit. We're of the same blood, you know? Ichiro's voice was starting to grate on her nerves. Besides, Itachi-kun means you or the rest of Konohagakure no harm. Just the people who wronged him. Think about it as him getting his well-deserved get-back after all these years. Tsunade knew breaking the technique was downright impossible without the user's input. But that could be arranged with overwhelming strength, and she was sure she had that in spades. The Senju pivoted, grabbed the chain with her other hand, and dragged the man to her. She slugged the man in the face. Water splashed her back, indicating he substituted himself with a water clone. She sucked her teeth but was satisfied she was free again. Ichiro reappeared, as she heard the Uzumaki again behind her. I wasn't exactly trying to fight, but they say sometimes two shinobi learn a lot about each other during battle. That was all the warning she got as a beam of water jetted toward her. She dodged it without turning. When she did face Ichiro's direction, she was treated to some more water release techniques. Liquid bullets came rushing at her, forcing her to be defensive again. Tsunade pressed her hands on the ground and a wall of rock rose to meet and absorb the water bullets. After the shots ceased, Ichiro brought back his old strategy. A chain broke through the stone, missing her arm by an inch. She rolled out away, directing her chakra into the earth to summon spears of rock to her opponent. Ichiro showed another element as he evaded her earth release technique with his own as he fell to the ground. Tsunade could hear the earth being moved loudly underneath with the Uzumaki's chakra. Chains appeared underneath her and gored through the ground, making a sizable hole. This forced the Senju into the air. Ichiro then took the time to reveal his third elemental affinity as a gigantic fireball flew up from the ground's hole. Tsunade quickly kneaded her chakra and expelled water from her mouth. She was surprised when the fireball slowly but surely ate through the wave of water, meaning more chakra was used for that technique than hers. She had no time to dodge it, and not enough time to use a technique to counter it. The Senju simply tanked it, letting herself fly back and hit the tree. Tsunade only then had time to do something else as she summoned a shadow clone and substituted herself with it. It quickly was ensnared by Ichiro's chains. Ichiro moved his hands and threw the trapped clone into a tree. It dissipated in smoke. Tsunade recalled the technique she faced long ago when her extended family faced her in training sessions. The Kongo Fusa was the closest to an absolute defense there ever could be. Chains too dense to break on your own, and even if you could break one chain, there would be hundreds more you had to face before its user got tired. She had a small time in her life when she lived on the same compound as her grandmother, Mito Uzumaki, and another distant cousin of hers, Kushina Uzumaki. Both of those women had the Kongo Fusa at their disposal and Tsunade had trained with them. One weakness of the chakra chains technique was that if the user had inferior chakra control than their target, then the chains could be dispersed. 4 chains reached for her. She evaded them but kept close enough so she could send her chakra through the air to one of them and inject them with it. The chains were not affected much, they bulged for a second, but the chakra inside the chains was strong enough to repair the chains. That meant both his chakra and his control over it was great. An evenness that she could not break. The Senju woman hadn't been too surprised. She had heard the stories of Mito restraining the Kyuubi with the technique. Her chakra was perfectly controlled. Ichiro was probably using the technique with the same finesse. She darted between the chains, making all the chains stretch out so he couldn't quickly turn their direction. Tsunade started kneading chakra in her stomach and pushing it up into her hands. She had arrived above Ichiro and shot out her technique. Forking lightning ran through the air, descending upon him. Ichiro's chains dispelled itself in between the time she did that and he dipped back into the earth. Lightning ate away at the soil, but not at her target. Tsunade had enough of that bullshit. After she landed, she jumped back into the air and as she descended, she sent a chakra-laden fist into the ground. The punch ruptured the battlefield to unearth a hidden Ichiro, who wore his first expression of surprise. Tsunade launched herself at him with a speed he couldn't possibly avoid and smacked the Uzumaki away with a punch. There was no sort of clone either, just flesh connecting with flesh. She bore a nasty grin as she watched the Uzumaki fly back into a few trees. She wasn't satisfied though. The guy was still probably alive, damn near every Uzumaki she knew of was made of sterner stuff. She went to pursue him but quickly had to coat herself in lightning chakra as a wave of mud attempted to subdue her. It sizzled off. Very nice, Ichiro praised from behind her. She turned to see him resting on a tree, not having a scratch on him or a dent in his armor. At least Konoha has you and that Hokage of yours. Clones again, Tsunade hissed. You never were truly fighting me seriously. Were we supposed to be fighting seriously? I didn't get the memo. To me, it was like sparring. He stopped leaning against the tree. As if to show he was even more of a weirdo, he raised his hand to her. She was ready for another sort of attack from him, but all he did was curl his fingers forward to make a half seal, the seal of reconciliation. It was a common gesture for two ninjas to give each other to indicate not only the end of a fight but that they were still comrades. This guy was truly a pro at getting on someone's last nerves. I learned a lot tonight about you, my dear. You did too, I hope. I'm not a threat to Konoha. I hope one day we can both work together. Doubt that, Tsunade returned flatly, ignoring Ichiro's attempts to do the seal with her. He withdrew his hand with a chuckle. I'm sure we will. After all, you are my kin. Go forth and carry the Uzumaki name well, was the last thing Ichiro said before a water-style Shunshin no Jutsu was performed without hand seals. He was gone. Tsunade sucked her teeth. Questions after questions were in her mind. She didn't believe Ichiro's words for a second. Itachi was bad enough, but now, this Ichiro man too Konoha had to worry about? Her other clan was starting to be proving quite the wild cards. 2 Uzumaki now had shown up. She started to turn back toward the direction of Konoha. Worry about the Uzumaki later, she said to herself. She had to hurry back to the village and see what sort of hell the Akatsuki-affiliated Uchiha was about to unleash there. She grabbed Sasuke and hopped away. As soon as she returned to the village at dawn, Tsunade sent a clone to bring Sasuke to the hospital, while she went up to the Hokage's suite. An unsurprising scene greeted her. Laid out in a scroll for all to see were Danzo Shimura, Koharu Udatane, and Hamura Mitokado, or more specifically their heads. Tsunade noted that the faces of Utatane and Mitokata were what she expected when a person faced their death. Horror, shock, pleading for life. Shimura's face, however, was downright serene, as if he accepted his fate perfectly well. Maybe because he was the main architect of this whole fucking mess, Tsunade said to herself with a snort. Itachi had been here and gone before she could make it home. Why do this, Itachi? Killing your allies' people is not going to win you over in favors, groaned Jiraiya as he rubbed the bridge of his nose. He locked eyes with Tsunade. These three? I probably wouldn't even bat an eyelash at, nor the village if I played my cards right, but 3 squads of ANBU are dead because of him. He probably no longer sees himself as a Konoha shinobi, so all bets were off for him, Tsunade commented as she sagged her shoulders and sighed. I blame myself. I saw him in the forest but he slipped past me. Probably wasn't even there when I first arrived. I couldn't get him in time. The Godame Hokage shook his head. I've seen, through the crystal ball. Not going to even blame you. Itachi's ex-ANBU, the guy is the master of distractions, illusions, and diversions. If you looked up the word tricky in the dictionary, it would probably have that guy's picture frowning back at you. The little bastard somehow even got past the Konoha barrier team. He sealed away the heads back into the scroll. Tsunade was glad to be freed from such a grisly sight. What have you learned about that other ninja? Was that Shiro? No, he was someone else. The only thing he and Shiro share is their Uzumaki blood. I figured. I saw the chains. Calls himself Ichiro, but he claimed he wasn't Akatsuki. Itachi came to Hino Kuni by himself to save Sasuke. That Uzumaki beat him here though and secured the Uchiha boy. Not sure what Itachi's relationship with that Uzumaki prick is. Maybe they are friends or allies or something else. Maybe Itachi hired and sent him here to make sure Sasuke was returned safely. Either way, they're well acquainted with each other. More things to worry about, sighed the Hokage who sat back down at his seat. I said the same thing myself. Also, did you ever meet a Uzumaki in the past? Well, besides the obvious too. This guy seemed glad that he saw me again, and the only time I met people like that was during my first round here. If I met someone like that, I figure you might have though. Jiraiya thought for a few seconds, scratching his chin. Huh. No, besides Kushina and Naruto, I don't think I ever had the pleasure of meeting a Uzumaki before. Though, that must be a long time ago if I don't remember. Well, forget it then. No, that's too important to forget about, Jiraiya insisted. If you think I might have met him, then probably. If not me, maybe the sand name? Should look into it. Shit, maybe that's the Uzumaki guy who Shimura couldn't talk about. Tsunade rubbed her temples. I think this guy is someone special. Walked around like he was some sort of big shot. If he could keep up with you, then yeah, he's one alright. He wasn't being serious. Neither was I, but still. He's someone we need to keep an eye out on, might even be related to the Uzumaki showing up in Suna. If he's not Akatsuki, then maybe. Or another group or a separate agent. Jiraiya shrugged. Too many variables at play here and I need some damn sleep, so I'm getting tired of thinking. How did Sasuke look? Beat up, but I think Orochimaru's guys did that one. He's still out but I did a diagnosis technique on him before I got back to the village. His vitals are fine. The important thing is he's still with us and Orochimaru's plans have been foiled, thankfully. Yeah. One other thing. Our boy is close to home. Jiraiya tapped the crystal ball on his desk and Tsunade saw Asuma's Suna team traveling through the trees of Hino Kuni. They just left our border with Kawa no Kuni around 2 hours ago and headed for the nearest town. They'll be home by the end of today if they hurry. So, whatever they learn from their trip about the team that invaded Suna, we'll know in a few. Jiraiya was right. By nightfall, the team had made it home. Naruto looked tired, as did the rest of his team. The Hokage started with a quip, "Well, guys, how was the Suna mission?" "Crappy," Naruto retorted sarcastically. "Do tell now." Asuma started the report, first beginning with how the real objective of the mission went, which was simply Asuma's team delivering the letter to the Suna Council. When Asuma got to the part where Naruto had encountered dangerous missing Nin, Tsunade watched Jiraiya smoothly dismiss Shikamaru, Nara, and Ino Yamanaka. "You two looked the most beat out of the team. Asuma's a jonin and Naruto's a damn stamina freak. Why don't you two go get some rest? Doesn't seem like you two were involved with the mess Naruto got himself involved in, and I rather see what excuses he got." Naruto looked like he wanted to say something back to that, but he clammed up. Shikamaru and Ino both nodded, thanked the Hokage, and left the office, but not before shooting curious glances at Naruto. When the door shut, Jiraiya was quick to start. "Alright, I got a message early briefly summarizing that battle. I want to hear what happened first that led up to why you decided to go after a missing Nin group that wanted to get Gaara, Naruto. So, start explaining." Naruto looked sheepish. "Look, I had my reason and it was good, believe me." Jiraiya just folded his fingers, steepling them in front of him. The blonde Uzumaki sighed. "Alright, first, I was training in the night. One of Gaara's siblings met with me. We struck up a conversation and were about to do some light training together when we saw a plume of sand a bit out from our location in the desert. I sent some clones nearby to check it out. They found out that it was Gaara engaging some enemy shinobi. With Tamari, Gaara's sister, I went out there to see what was happening. I had a bad feeling it was the Akatsuki and I was right. I sent out another set of clones to alert Suna and my team. And now, I'm wondering why you decided that it was a good idea to endanger yourself going out there, knowing it was the Akatsuki," Jiraiya commented darkly. Naruto looked abashed, his cheeks reddening. "I just felt like I could handle it, Hokage-sama. All we were going to do was get Gaara and leave. Just like that time with my team and Tsunade, the Akatsuki wasn't there to get me, just someone else. And it didn't go down like you thought it was, right?" Naruto gave the Senju a grimace. Tsunade smirked. "Kid's lucky, or unlucky, depending on who you ask. You've got to be a special type of person to have the same thing happen to you twice in 1 month, dryly quipped Tsunade. "If this happened twice already, I would say unlucky, Tsunade-sama," Asuma returned with just the same amount of dry amusement the Senju had. "Sooner or later, Naruto, your luck is going to run out with that logic," the Konoha leader admonished the Chunin, not sharing their lightheartedness. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Next time, I want you to run, kid. Feel like I keep telling you this, but it's not clicking for you on how lucky you're getting with these encounters. I get it, you wanted to save Gaara. Bonus points for accomplishing that, but if the Akatsuki wanted to, they could have turned their attention to you." Naruto groaned, sagging a bit. "Yeah, you're right. Still, if I didn't stick with my gut, I feel like Gaara would have been in the Akatsuki's clutches right about now." Jiraiya grunted, a sound of discontentment. He probably realized, like Tsunade, that if Naruto didn't step in, Gaara would indeed be a gone cause. The Hokage let out a sigh. "I get your reasonings, kid, but I won't accept a repeat of this. Not until you're stronger than what you are. Run, next time." Jiraiya watched Naruto open his mouth to say something, but the Chunin stopped and, apologetically, nodded. "I got it. Sorry." "Well," the blonde paused to scratch his head sheepishly, "at least I'm fine?" The leader of Konohagakure shook his head exasperatedly. "Anything else to add?" Naruto nodded. "They weren't for me, but I got the feeling they were testing me. They were Uzumaki people, again." "What makes you say that?" Naruto shook his head again. "Well, like you said, if they were after me for real, they wouldn't have held back. Their leader, Tatsuya, was try seeing what I could do, praising me for techniques and stuff. When he left with his allies, he told me along the lines of, go forth and carry the Uzumaki name well." Jiraiya gave Tsunade a look and they both shared a nod. Naruto looked between them. Something I should know?" Well, the village got invaded yesterday night. Might have seen the new gates we installed there. Naruto and Asuma's eyes widened. That wasn't from the gate we arrived in, Asuma commented. No, it was from one of our northern gates. Most of them didn't even get into the village, not very far anyway, so it makes sense you missed some of the damage. Some of Orochimaru's people attacked here. They were dealt with. Meanwhile, Sasuke was attacked and captured by 4 other ninjas. They took him out of the village. Is he fine? The blonde looked worried. Is he here? He's back here and safe, brat, Tsunade assuaged. I made sure of that. Still, there was another person out there to greet Tsunade when she reached Sasuke, and he was an Uzumaki, Jiraiya revealed. Another one? Asuma frowned. Sasuke was saved by some foreign Uzumaki? Killed Sasuke's capturers. Tsunade took over from the Hokage. And he said the same thing Gaara's attack said in Suna. Go forth and carry the Uzumaki name well. We don't know if they're Akatsuki or not. Not Akatsuki? This guy is connected to those Uzumaki guys I fought? Naruto frowned. Keep that in mind. Jiraiya was not going to sugarcoat things. You're going to have not one, but possibly 2 groups who are interested in you, and one of them is somehow related to you. You're going to have to take more caution from here on out. Whoever you are with will have to too. Naruto looked down, obviously troubled. Anything else I should know? Jiraiya asked Asuma. Nothing much else. Naruto and that Suna girl, Temari, dealt with that Uzumaki team long enough before the rest of Suna showed up. We debriefed the Suna council, left in the afternoon of the next day, got stuck in Kaze no Kuni for a day because of the sandstorm, and raced back home. Noted. Alright, Asuma, let both Shikamaru and Ino know to come back in the morning so you all can get paid for your troubles. You too, Naruto. Get some shut-eye, the both of you. Dismissed. Yes, Hokage-sama, both Chunin and Jonin responded with a snappy salute before both disappeared in a shunshin. Every day, there's something new, Tsunade remarked with derision. Comes with the job, Tsunadeheim. I hate this job. You're not even the Hokage, madam, Jiraiya retorted with a flat face. He grabbed a piece of paper and started writing down the notes in the file of the B-rank Sunagakure mission. Ain't like you even got the hardest part of this shit show. What now? How are you going to go about Naruto's training? Besides adding to more ninjutsu in his repertoire, maybe get him started on a newer elemental affinity? He's still got to get further acquainted with the Kyuubi's chakra. With those notes Mitokado and Udatane gave me a while back, I'm working on something with Kyumogakure. If they accept our branch of Olive, maybe we can gain access to the way they train their Tujin Shuriki. Going to take a while though, and Naruto still has problems controlling a tail's worth of Biju chakra. For now, though? Gotta work on some paperwork. Jiraiya ended the conversation with a smirk. The shit show has to go on, after all. Naruto, despite his worries, had been way too tired to do anything else but go home and sleep off his trip outside the village. He however promised himself he would go to the hospital soon as he woke up. That next morning, Naruto made good on his promise and walked to the room Sasuke was in. He was surprised that Sakura wasn't there to greet him. Sasuke sat up and looked over at him. A few seconds of silence between them began before the Uchiha spoke first. Idiot. Bastard, Naruto quickly followed. Back in the hospital again, huh? Third time in here. Even think I got the same room as last time. It's getting very old. I bet. I'm leaving today though. I'm not going to stop training because of a few headaches. Right, Naruto returned, not sure what else to say. Just do. One thought came on, and Naruto was about to fight it, wondering if it was too weird, but he just sighed outwardly. Fuck it, he said lowly. HN? Sasuke noised out, before flinching up as Naruto did something very unexpected. He swept the Uchiha up in a hug. Look, both of us have been pricks to each other. I don't want to be like that with you anymore. Too much bad blood is between us, and I don't know why it started, but I want to squash the beef. Okay? You're my friend, Sasuke. Damn, you might even be my best friend. I'm sorry, okay? Naruto squeezed a bit further. Life's too short to be holding on to grudges you can fix, so I'm here to just tell you that. If you can't find in your heart to forgive me, then fine, I'll leave, but I'm serious. You idiot. Not like we haven't fought before. Sasuke hesitated but returned the hug briefly. Then, he pushed Naruto off, looking a bit embarrassed. I'm sorry too. You're right. Life is too short. Naruto smiled, okay. But damn, you look bruised up. They did a number on you, huh? Sasuke looked annoyed but nodded Naruto. Yeah. Thankfully, Tsunade-sama got me back here. Wouldn't do if I got captured by Orochimaru. Yeah, not at all. I missed a lot, it seems. An invasion, someone getting kidnapped by some bastards, what else did I miss? The Uzumaki teen grabbed a chair and sat down next to Sasuke's bedside. Let me on to what happened. Naruto's smiling face quickly converted to a full scowl after Sasuke let him know of a particular event that started the day. So, let me get this straight, you told Sakura she's useless, and left her crying, started Naruto in a deadpan. Yep, Sasuke admitted, not feeling an iota of regret. Naruto's blue eyes pinned the Uchiha with a glare. Just when I thought you couldn't be any more of an asshole, you sunk to a new low, bastard. Sasuke huffed in annoyance at Naruto's annoyance. Listen, Naruto, your precious Sakura-chan has been nothing but a pest. She hasn't done anything to help herself. She's still trying to find her way. The black-haired teen gave a flat look. What does that even mean? Sasuke held a hand up before Naruto could screech anything out. Listen to what I am about to say. I've been training nearly every single day since I left the academy, barely giving myself any days off. Even if my body was exhausted to do something one day, I got back to it the next. I learned how to better my Sharingan, and have 2 elemental affinities under my belt. You've been training damn near every day too, have at least 1 elemental affinity, have learned the Yandame's Rasengan, and from what you admitted, you have been training with the Hokage. What the hell has Sakura done? That's not fair, Sasuke. She doesn't have our chakra or our drive. Because you don't need huge amounts of chakra. You don't need a Kekkei Genkai, some special background, or even a clan to become a great ninja. Look at the Yandame Hokage, or even the current Hokage himself. They were both clanless shinobi who rose through the ranks and became the strongest ninjas in Konoha history. What does it matter to be born for greatness or not? I thought you weren't one for fate and destiny, idiot. That doesn't sound like you. Naruto balked. A hint of resignation was on his face. I don't believe in fate, no. But I still feel like we're not good examples. It's weird, but I think we're just built different. What the hell does that mean, dead last? Sasuke held back a snicker. Naruto stopped to chuckle himself, hearing what he just said. I mean, it sounds corny, doesn't it? But it feels like we're not like the others in our group of graduation? Putting yourself high up on a pedestal, huh? Well, you're the one who was praising me earlier. Naruto noticed, and a part of him was elated that he was being acknowledged by Sasuke. Just stating facts. Believe me, it hurt even admitting all of that. The blonde smirked. Can't be just happy I'm improving, huh, you little bastard? You're shorter than me, you moron, deadpan Sasuke. Bah. Semantics. Naruto's smile turned guiltier as he heaved a sigh. I mean, you're right. She's not like us though. Both of us improved so fast. Maybe it's because of drive, or maybe it's just because of our abilities. I mean, both of us come from a clan, you know. It definitely gave you something of a head start with your dojutsu. Sasuke snorted. Yeah, that's the Uchiha clan's abilities alright, but what about yours? Since when are you from a clan? My clan? Heh, brush up about your history, you Uchiha bastard. Naruto started to proudly bump his chest. Read up about the Uzumaki. We got strong life forces, denser chakra pools than most people, and healing properties to our chakra. It's just not fair to compare us to Sakura. She's not like us. Got to be honest, kind of lumped you in there with the clanless people. More like you forgot about the Uzumaki, huh? Sasuke coughed, seeming a bit embarrassed at being called out. I doubt you even knew you were from a clan before last month or so don't act like a know-it-all, dumbass. But you're right that you have a lot of chakra, more than me and Sakura combined, and you always did have a good constitution. See? The Uchiha took a few seconds to digest that new tidbit about Naruto's clan. I admit that we have advantages that she doesn't have, but still, again, I ask you, does being from a clan really make you better as a ninja? I can think of a few people who were from a clan and they didn't graduate from the academy, and the ones who did still weren't able to go far in the Chunin exams. I guarantee you that. Sakura's just not applying herself. Here's an example. I asked her what she learned since we've been out of the academy, and she only said how to dispel genjutsu and tree walking. Naruto winced. That's it? I mean. Kakashi-sensei's at fault, you know? He didn't even try to help her since we've joined. Forgetting that he gave her scrolls on things after the exams? Even if Kakashi is still slacking a bit when it comes to her, he left her something of use. The Uchiha raised an eyebrow. Naruto, stop defending Sakura just because you like her. She's been slacking off, that's it. She's going to end up getting someone killed or herself, and you don't want that, do you? Ugh, for fuck's sake, Sasuke. Why even jinx people like that? Admit it, dumbass. She's the dead last now. And it's her fault. She's our friend, right? Well, friends should tell others when they need to shape up already. You can't keep babying her. I can't either. Alright. Naruto sighed again. Even so, that doesn't mean you can just bark on her. You got to encourage her, not make her feel like crap. Hell, you made her so upset, she didn't even visit you today, huh? That's because she was here too. Not visiting, but staying. Wait, you mean she was put in here? The blonde frowned. Wait, what? Why did no one tell me? I don't know, but she was admitted here yesterday. How? That day the village got invaded, Orochimaru's people came for me. 4 ninjas. I was fighting them off just fine until she came to help. This is why I said what I said. She couldn't do anything to help me, and because she stepped in like an idiot, she nearly got herself killed, Sasuke groused with a grimace. The Oto ninjas almost bashed her skull in. I could have handled them myself. Damn. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. I get your point now. Yeah, Sasuke dryly retorted, looking satisfied he won the argument. Anyway, apparently, she woke up yesterday and besides some bruises, she got off relatively scot-free. No apparent brain injuries or lasting damage. Immediately asked for a discharge and got it. Naruto looked a touch worried. That's kind of unlike her. I thought she would want to stay. She's always been less headstrong than us. Did she at least go home and rest? Maybe now, but yesterday, she made sure to come see me. Sasuke's brooding expression softened. And she apologized for not being able to do anything about those ninjas who abducted me. Guess I was feeling nice yesterday because of the painkillers or something, because I said it wasn't her fault. And it wasn't. At least she tried helping you. Besides, they were giving you problems, despite what you're implying. Sasuke glowered at Naruto. The blonde shrugged. Hey, don't get mad at me. They sounded like they were Jonin-level ninjas, well out of our reach. No, they weren't. They weren't on Kakashi-sensei's level anyway. I could have won if Sakura didn't show up to try to help, Sasuke insisted, folding his arms. Naruto rolled his eyes at his stubbornness. But yeah, she apologized. Said she was going to do whatever she could to get better, so that wouldn't happen again. So, she's going to get stronger, right? Good. The Uchiha teen grunted. I'll believe it when I see it. You're the one who wants to see it the most though. People can change themselves, you know? I wasn't always some dope-ass Chunin. Naruto grinned, tapping his chest with a proud bump of his fist. Sasuke gave the blonde a deadpan. Oh, I know. Been telling you you're a dumbass deadlast for a while now. You finally just shaped up yourself. You're lucky you're in here because they're monitoring your head injury. I won't try to throttle you until you get better. Hope they don't tell you your brain's scrambled. Well, any more than it is now. Naruto paused before putting on a serious face, despite some touches of nervousness. Sasuke, we have to talk. Sasuke quirked an eyebrow up. We've been talking for a while now. Whatever you got to say, you should just tell me. Well, I know I haven't been on Team 7 missions for a while now, but I still consider myself a part of the team. Things are starting to get serious. If I join you guys more onto missions, some people might come after us because of me. It already happened before. I got a couple of groups after me, one of them your brother is a part of. Yeah, I know, Sasuke looked tense after the mention of Itachi. What I don't get is why he's after you. Would make more sense if he was after me. You don't even know him. I don't even get why outside groups are after you. Your stupid pranks before weren't anything to piss people off, right? Sasuke retorted with some lightness to the situation. Naruto smirked despite his trepidation. Only the good people of Konoha were graced by my pranking prowess. No, it wasn't because of my pranks. Naruto stopped, obviously thinking about what to say next. They're after me for one reason. And it's because of something inside me. Sasuke was getting tired of Naruto beating around the bush. Spit it out already, idiot. I'm not psychic. The Uzumaki sucked his teeth. Okay, fuck it. Just going to throw it out there. They're after me because I am a Jinchuriki. Jinchuriki? Sasuke narrowed his eyes. What's that again? You don't know what it is? Naruto blinked. You were the top dog in class, and two things big you don't know about. Didn't we have a lesson about Biju and Jinchuriki in the academy? Sasuke gave Naruto a raised brow. Your ass didn't show up to school most of the days, and you're chastising me about not remembering a lesson? Yeah, because I showed up for that lesson specifically. Naruto snorted derisively, closing his eyes. He heaved out another sigh. Okay, you know about Biju, yeah? Sure, the tailed beasts or demons or whatever that can cause massive destruction. Well, they seal Biju inside ninjas sometimes. All major villages have them. 9 Biju in 9 people. They're called Jinchuriki. Sasuke quickly got it. And you have one of them in you. Guessing it's the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the one who attacked our village years ago. They said the Yondaime destroyed it, but I guess they kept that a secret so no one would know. Naruto nodded, slowly. Yeah. Only the higher-ups know, or, really, anyone who was old enough to remember the Kyuubi's attack. The group your brother is in, the Akatsuki? They want to take the Kyuubi out of me, for whatever reason. A group like that with the Biju means all sorts of trouble can happen. So, even more of a reason to take out that freak Itachi. Naruto stared at him. Sasuke smirked. What? Expected me to be upset you got some demon in you? Or blame you for something to do with the Kyuubi's attack 13 years ago? You're still just a moron to me. That doesn't change that fact. No. I guess not, Naruto returned, giving off a weak but appreciative smile. I just wanted to let you know so next time Itachi and that shark guy show up, you're not wondering why. All of this got me thinking. This trip I just had, and the mini invasion and, well, I just want to let you know. Just means I got to get better. So do you, and so does Sakura. More of a reason to keep training. Sasuke looked uncomfortable. Look, I don't hate you. That's obvious. I've been thinking a lot recently myself. You guys, you're my only friends, and you all grew on me. There, I said it. I won't let anyone take that away from me, especially not that bastard Itachi. He already did before. Naruto patted Sasuke on the shoulder, a big smile plastered on his face. And I'll make sure of that. You don't have to fight him yourself. If you need me, I'll be there to help. Sakura will help too. Sasuke gave the blonde teen a small but genuine smile. Then, he snorted. Well, that'll be far off. I don't think I told you, but I'm on punishment for the last time we fought. I can't take missions outside the village for at least another 3 years. Damn. Really? Really? It'll be a long time before we go after Itachi, I bet. Him and all those other freaks from that organization of his. Yeah, I met 2 others back when we retrieved Tsunade from Tanzakugai. It's a whole freak show. But you're right. We will get stronger, no other choice. Yeah, but I'm getting tired right now. Going back to bed and then I'll leave here. Can't do much getting stronger until I get discharged. You should get started first on your training. Sakura might even catch up to you at this point. Naruto guffawed. Probably. Glad we had this talk. Yeah. I'll hit you up later. Later, idiot. Bastard. And there you have it, boss man. It was quite the sight to behold. Fun watching all that metal ringing and singing. And the Kyuubi kid held his own pretty well too. He went wham, bam, thank you, my dash. Besides being highly inappropriate, show some respect, fool. Get on with it. Gah. Calm down, Black. I'm being respectful. Just adding a little pizzazz to the story enough. Let me finish the report. Our leader needs facts, not a buffoon yapping off at the mouth. Fine, grumpy pants. All angry and stuff, or maybe hangry. Someone must have not gotten his daily meal of a human corpse today, huh? While that may be true, that is not why dash. Zetsu was the mere utterance from the baritone voice of pain. The S-rank shinobi and leader of the Akatsuki had a flatter than usual expression on his face, if that were even possible. Sorry, boss, started the softer, informal voice of the white half of Zetsu. Yes, we apologize, finished the deeper, respectful tone of the black half of Zetsu. Pain nodded, staring at the 2 who shared one body. Or one person with a split personality. Zetsu's true nature was unknown to the 2 higher-ups of the Akatsuki. The only one who may have known what Zetsu was exactly was their recruiter, and he was a few countries away from Amagakure. From what you have gathered from this battle, there is another group out there after our targets as well. People worth our notice? Some sort of starter group, perhaps? Conan questioned herself. Pain's right-handed woman gave Zetsu a cool gaze. You said there were 3 people there for Gaara. One of them was an Uzumaki, of no doubt, so you know they can be trouble. The other ones weren't. One was incredibly fast, too fast to follow normally. Incredibly fast, parroted Conan. The workings of a shunshin? Nah, much more chakra was being used to be that simple technique. She became a blur, like those characters in an action-y shonen manga, Boss Lady. Like, whoosh and bang, and dash. White, they get it. Stop yapping already. I apologize again, Conan-sama. The sole woman of the Akatsuki waved her hand, unbothered. So, this was the work of some other technique. I could sense a special utilization of this kunoichi's chakra. Perhaps a bloodline, but's not a bloodline we recognize right off the bat. We will need to gather some more information. The girl wasn't the only one using a Kekii Genkai though. Their squad leader also had a special power. He was able to use Koton techniques, some sort tweaking of Earth Chakra. Steel release. Metoro Kanjiki, Pain answered Conan's query. He was one of our recent recruitment ideas. Ah, yes, that's right. Zetsu did something of a half smile. Or whatever you could call it, since the white half of his face was smiling, and his dark half lacked a mouth. Nah, Leader Sama. I remember you having us follow him for a bit before you lost interest. It wasn't him. Kanjiki didn't have that monstrous amount of chakra like this guy. It was so crazy. This man rivaled some of our fellow members' chakra pools. Almost on Kisame-kuan's level. In any case, these guys are working for someone else. We're sure of it. All working for a boss man like us? A pity they were able to get away so fast. We followed their signatures to Kawa no Kuni, but they disappeared right after. Unnaturally so. Maybe some sort of technique they used. Maybe something similar to Madara-sama. The Man/Venus flytrap hybrid did his best to shrug with his awkward body. Anything other observation you gleaned from the battle? The leader of the Akatsuki probed. Besides all of that? Nope. Well, I guess all we can say is that the Kyuubi Jinchuriki still doesn't have the best control over his tailed beast yet. A fledgling. As is the case with Ichibi Jinchuriki. We can always get them whenever you like, Pain-sama. As we can with Yagura-chan in the Bloody Mist. Pain dismissed the suggestion. We do not need to worry about the Kyuubi or the Ichibi Jinchuriki. Neither do we have to worry about this newer group. If they cannot even capture Sabaka Nogara, who has the weakest Biju inside of him, then we do not need to accelerate our plans. Instead, we shall continue gathering resources, taking jobs, and destabilizing nations whenever we can. Still, we should keep them in mind, Pain's right-handed woman challenged, her amber eyes narrowing at the acting leader of the Akatsuki. Itachi-kun and Kisame-kun too failed to capture the Kyuubi Jinchuriki on purpose because they were merely scouting. The Rinnegan user gave her a flat stare. His eyes alone would have cowed most Akatsuki members, but Conan has known Pain for far too long to be intimidated. He hummed. I am not writing them off, but as of now, we will not act against them. We have other objectives to meet. Besides other missions and contracts to fulfill, we still need to locate all Jinchuriki of their locations. The Yanbi, Rokobi, and Gobi's Jinchuriki have not been found. Understood, Conan conceded, knowing Pain had made up his mind. She also really did not want to argue with Setsu around. Suddenly, the air shifted and twisted into itself. All three of them stood to attention as the so-called real leader of the Akatsuki appeared, walking himself into the domain of Pain. I'm afraid we have a bit of a new problem, Madara started, coming out of the warp dimension with folded arms. Meaning? Pain questioned. Conan stared at Madara coolly. What has happened? I am sure you were aware of my little fun out in Kirigakure. That little civil war that I cooked up years ago has come to an end. The rebels managed to get someone strong enough to kill the Mizukage. It was someone from your blasted clan. A red Sharingan eye peered at Pain as if he was blaming him for what transpired. The Uzumaki. Pain hummed gently. I didn't expect Yagura to be defeated. You sound annoyed, Madara. Perhaps it was not the smartest idea to keep Yagura out there by himself, even if he was a supposed perfect Jinchuriki. Conan knew it was quite catty of her to say it like that, but she would not take Pain being disrespected. She could see through his mask that Madara was glaring at her with his one eye. He looked like he wanted to say something, but he did not. Pain interjected, and then that incident in Suna that Zetsu had told us about. Indeed. Which involved another Uzumaki. Now, do I know if they are connected to that group that showed up in Sunagakure? No clue, but it happened very close to each other and involved people from the same clan. And I don't like it, Nagato. I don't like it at all. The red eye's gaze again landed on Pain's purple-ringed eyes. The Akatsuki are the ones who must have all the biju for your plan to work. No one else can do what we can do. There is no we hold some, they hold others. Deal with them. We have no leads as of yet. As I told Conan and Zetsu, we should not worry about them. They will eventually crawl out of their foxholes if their objective to capture Jinchuriki is the same as ours. I do have a way to get the foxes out of their holes, so to speak, early. Another incident just happened in Oto no Kuni. Someone unknown ninja had entered Orochimaru's main hideout and completely wiped it out. Left Oroki-chan's shithole village in smoke and ruins. Snickering came from the white part of Zetsu. He absolutely went ham out there. Ham? Conan asked, cautiously. Ignore White's idiotic slang, groused the black side of Zetsu. A white Zetsu clone of ours only arrived in Oto no Kuni after leaving from Hai no Kuni to check on the status of Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto wasn't there, by the way. Probably out of the country or so. My clone sensed strong chakra signatures in Oto Gekyur, and thought Naruto Uzumaki would be there. The clone arrived to find the unknown Uzumaki man fighting Orochimaru's pet Shoten Kunoichi. We only heard a bit about the Uzumaki's mission because the clone had to constantly move on the battlefield and only got to record the fight. And what a match it was! So many techniques were being used. Geez, were they tearing it up? Earth, wind, and fire. Well, not really wind, I suppose. Just water, but man, you should have seen Dash. Zetsu, focus, Madara ordered seriously. Sorry, Madara-sama. Anywho. He was after someone, another Uzumaki we believe, but we guess they weren't there. So, as punishment, he sacked Oto Gekyur just to retrieve a boy that looked particularly like Yagura-chan. A relative? Pain asked. Not just that. His baby boy. He had the same chakra signature as Yagura-chan. Oroki-kun must have snatched him from his crib when he was young, it seems, and turned his son into a successful pseudo-Jinchuriki. And he was an Uzumaki, correct? Indeed, chirped Zetsu's lighter side. Another one? Conan sent a look to Pain. They are certainly popping up seemingly out of nowhere. Pain ignored the comment, still looking at Zetsu. Continue. What was this man's abilities? Oh, he had that same potent chakra that we know the Uzumaki clan for. He was a censor who knew Yagura's son was a pseudo-Jinchuriki. Not only that, but he could use the Uzumaki Kongo Fusa technique, had used water, earth, and fire release, and had powerful Fuinjutsu skills. He was even able to subdue a version 2 state of the Sanbai pseudo-Jinchuriki. Sounds similar to our Shiro, Conan uttered, adopting a thinking pose. Minus the chakra chains and triple elemental nature types. Did he retrieve Yagura's son? He had to. That and that Shoten ninja. Man, haven't seen those crystal users in a while. She was one of Orochimaru's peoples and pretty powerful too, but she couldn't do crap against the Uzumaki guy. We came back after the kid roared a shockwave out that destroyed our hiding spot and killed our clone. Luckily, the clone was able to relay some information to us about the battle before he was killed. After a while, we created a clone to return to Oto Gekyur. There were no dead bodies there resembling the Uzumaki, the Shoten user, or Yagura's son. So, we believe the Uzumaki captured both Yagura's son and the Shoten user. The strange being finished the report. The orange-haired shinobi turned to Madara. So, I suppose we are to include her in our ranks. Whenever we encounter her. How will she bring out this Uzumaki man? Recruit her or not? That doesn't matter. What does is getting that information about her. We get to her, then we can flush out the Uzumaki. And, we take Yagura's son. Since the Mizukage is dead, the Sanbai is dead. It will take at least some time before the Sanbai reforms back. A piece of that chakra is good enough for now. It is most important. Whenever that happens, we will be ready, Conan responded. It's still a waiting game for us. For now, we should concentrate on our old business. Your right hand has a lot to say today, Nagato, Madara stated, his displeasure amusing Conan more than it actually should have. Pain raised his hand to placate them. There is no need to bicker. As I said before, we have no leads, and even with our abilities, trying to search for these Uzumaki would take uprooting the entire continent. They will come out again, especially if they are going for the Biju like us. Fine, fine. What is your next move then? Establishing a newer Akatsuki cell. We are interested in one person so far. A recent event has happened in Yugakure. The village's pacifism is old news to the world. They have been continuing a path to peace, dismantling their military, but not all are in agreement with the plan. That village has been plagued with Jashinists before. One of their survivors just slaughtered top ninja officials in the village. Sounding too similar to your boy, Shiro. Is this another Uzumaki? Madara sounded bored. No. They call him Haiden. He's been doing mercenary work out in the minor villages, fighting mainly to appease his violent god, Jashin. Yugakure has hired us to take care of him. Conan, Itachi, Shiro, and Kakuzu will handle the recruiting process. I'll be there too, Madara-sama. Pain-sama, do make sure Kakuzu-kun doesn't go out on his bounty missions for a bit after he's finished looking for those hearts he lost in Hainokuni. The white part of Zetsu snickered, while the black side continued the mocking. After all, he almost got himself and Shiro killed for underestimating Tsunade of the Senju, a person with very little activity for several decades. The fools. Speak not ill of our members, Zetsu, reprimanded Pain. Every member of the organization can do whatever they like outside the Akatsuki, so long as they do not bring any unwanted attention to our operation. Besides, it is not like we have not gained anything from their actions in Hainokuni. With Kakuzu and Shiro's info, we know a lot of the Konoha's Jinchuriki skill with his Biju, as well as Kanahagakore's secret Mokutan user. Yeah, the rumors turned out to be true. Kanahagakure had their off-brand, knockoff Hashirama Senju, and even allowed him to come out to play. How sweet, the dark half of Zetsu finished dryly. Madara cleared his throat, returning them to the subject at hand. If you think this Haiden's valuable, go for it. Anything else? Another job in Kanokuni. They want us to eradicate their neighboring country, Konokuni, so they can take over their territory. Sasori, Deidara, and Kisame will be used for that mission. Makes sense, there are heavy hitters after all. The plan is the same. After that mission, we will finish the last bit of recruitment, rest, continue our mercenary operations, and gather information on the Jinchuriki. Our goal is to indeed gain all of the Biju, but if our enemies have one or two in their possession, it is not the end of the world. All will go in our favor in the end, as long as we are patient. Yes, I suppose I did get a bit impatient. I will admit that. Madara finally unfolded his arms. Your plan sounds solid. This is acceptable, Nagato. I'll be returning to the mountain's graveyard for now. Update me on any newer news. Then the warping effect of the air began, and all traces of the ghost of the Uchiha was removed as he was sucked into the portal. Pain turned to the half-white, half-black plant man. Continue your observations of the various Jinchuriki, Setsu, until you are summoned for the Haiden mission. We know of most of their locations, but the Rokubi Jinchuriki continues to escape our notice. The leader of the Akatsuki dismissed his spy. Will do, Pain-sama. Zetsu saluted, before melting into the ground, a sign of him using his Kajiro technique that allowed him to travel quickly to places. With the technique, Zetsu was soon to be out of Amagakure and off to find the Rokubi. For a minute, Pain and Conan stood there in a hallway of the Amagakure Tower where the Rainy Village's previous leader, Sanshuo no Hanzo, once ruled with an iron fist. Now, it was Pain's tower. When they were certain that they were alone, Pain retreated into a room. The room was Spartan, save for a desk and a chair nearby. He opened the doors to a window and jumped out onto the surface of the building as he walked up the tower. Conan followed Pain outside silently. As always, Conan knew Pain would go to his favorite spot of the tower, on top of one of the 4 statues that jutted out the tower. The horned humanoid statue on the side of the tower whose reddish tongue stuck out for the rest of the village to see was where Pain, or Nagato through the deva path he often used as his puppet, liked to sit on and just look at their village, the village she and Nagato liberated from the tyrannical Hanzo. The deva path, as it was dubbed by Nagato, stood side by side with Conan. She took a brief gander at the living corpse as Nagato's deva path looked at the village of Aim with a contemplative expression. Deva path was Nagato's favorite body to use for business in the Akatsuki, to move around the elemental countries, and always in Amagakure where Nagato had to make appearances. A part of her would forever be angry at the deva path. It was using the corpse of someone she once loved dearly. Nagato used Yahiko's corpse as a host for his voice and actions, and it existed to always anger and sadden her, even if Nagato didn't see it like that. It was like pulling and reopening an old wound every time she saw it. She supposed she should have been used to it, as well as the eerie violet rings of the Rinnegan, but a part of her was still mad. However, it was here to stay. In her heart, she knew Nagato wasn't intentionally trying to be disrespectful to her or Yahiko. It was supposed to be his way to honor the dead, to grieve for Yahiko, who was Nagato's dear friend as well. The kunoichi looked up at the usual weather of Aim. Of course, it was in the name, of course. Rainfall, a downpour, to be exact. The cool rain had done little to bother her, so it was probably double for the Akatsuki leader. Pain raised his hands to the skies, water hitting and gliding off his dead hands. It was far from a sense of sentimentality, a way to observe the gray skies and its unrelenting rainfall. Pain was using the rain in a ninjutsu to check on the village. He is gone. That's good. I'm glad he's gone. And you too, Nagato. I can see it in your face. You couldn't wait until Zetsu left. As loyal as they may seem to the cause, Zetsu takes orders from both me and our mysterious benefactor, and Madara's true motives are still unknown, the orange-haired cadaver admitted, serving as a sort of conduit for Nagato's voice. Zetsu may report to me, but they always report to the Uchiha Patriarch first. That was true, but it wasn't surprising. When Madara came to the Akatsuki, Zetsu followed shortly. Out of everyone, they were never recruited by us, just by Madara. I grow tired of Zetsu, and by extension, his master, Madara. Or whoever the man behind the mask is. We have already dealt with one masked man before, so I can see why you don't trust him, Conan commented, referencing the late Hanzo. Not just the mask. It is hard to believe the man who matched Hashirama Senju in battle could have lived all these years and still be spry. And yet, his chakra is dense and powerful. As powerful as yours? Conan asked, though she already felt like she knew the answer. No, but he has a Sharingan eye, and the Uchiha are, well, were, a tricky bunch. Our own Itachi-kun can be thanked for ridding most of them off the planet. That was as close as a quip that would be from the usually serious ninja in front of her, and a dark one at that. Whether Madara's intentions align with ours or not remains to be seen. When the time comes, we shall see where he and Zetsu's true loyalties lie. We're no closer to figuring out who the man is, Conan uttered, keeping a look at Aim. Besides briefly him coming our way to give orders, we have not seen much of him. I wonder what next scheme is he planning. There is no need to theorize, old friend. Pain finally put down his hands. Whatever suits Madara, it matters not. Soon, we shall be rid of Zetsu and their masked master. Soon, we shall bend the world to our liking. Pain finished with paramount confidence in his powerful voice. For now, let us discuss when we will go after Haiden with the rest of our group. Nagato raised his hand to the ram hand seal. I am beginning the Gentishin no Jutsu. We have much to discuss with the rest of the group. Come into the call. Translation list. Gentishin no Jutsu, Magic Lantern Body Technique. At the border, during the Oto invasion of Konoha. Her chakra being sealed away was a weird, uncomfortable feeling to Guren. Yet, it had been her reality for the past few hours. She felt like a helpless babe, being carried away by her caretaker. That accursed Uzumaki, Ichiro, carried her and followed his doppelganger who had Yukimaru in his arm. The boy she had come to care for dearly was still unconscious and in similar bindings as her. When he awoke, he would be in a world of shock. The home she and Yukimura had before in one of the major hideouts of Otogakure had been gone. Now, Guren was in new territory. She recognized the changing of the background from rice fields and grassy plains to the valley of the end, where the long chains of forests began. They had gone south of Oto no Kuni to Hai no Kuni. For what reason, Guren could not formulate an answer. The Uzumaki man passed through the valley of the end through the darkness of the night with an ease that other ninjas could not replicate. He adeptly moved into and through the forests, where the trees got so large that no moonlight could get through its foliage, as if he could see in the dark. All through the night, Ichiro hadn't stopped. Guren had defaulted hours ago to a silence, as did Ichiro when Guren refused to answer to much of his prodding questioning. However, that did not last forever as they passed into a clearing of a forest. "He's here," Ichiro suddenly said. It was to his clone, who nodded back at him. They came to a full stop and waited, until another iteration of Ichiro appeared, with someone else in her arms. The girl looked familiar, but before she could note who it was, Guren saw another person appear drop down next to Ichiro. Out of the darkness of the night, Itachi fucking Uchiha appeared. Guren was downright flabbergasted. The slayer of the Uchiha clan was on the soil of Hai no Kuni and Ichiro was all smiles, still having that unnerving, irritating serenity around him like all was right in the world. When Itachi nodded and shook the Uzumaki's hand, Guren was even more baffled by their familiarity. "I thank you, Ichiro-san, for your help. You shall be repaid. In due time, I'm sure. But I figure this isn't a good time for you to talk about it." Itachi shook his head. "My partner and I had just finished a job in Takigakure for the village head there. I informed him I was leaving for a separate mission objective, but it was not supposed to take me far out of Taki no Kuni. I am supposed to meet back up with him soon enough." The Uchiha man finally acknowledged her presence with a look. Cold, red eyes of clan killer Itachi peered down at her. A simple stare from those eyes sent chills down Guren's spine. "You seem to also be on borrowed time." "Oh, talking about my little catches here?" The Ichiro next to Itachi laughed. The other clones snickered too as Guren squirmed in her bindings in annoyance. He dug into his pocket and gave Itachi some sort of paper. "Time to return to my corner of the world, yes. You too. You'll find one of Yui-chan's sigils if you use this paper seal. It'll help you get out of the country quickly." The Uchiha rubbed the paper between his thumb and index. He delayed for only a second before giving a small nod at Ichiro. "Send my regards to Yui-san." "I will. Don't hesitate to contact me again if you need me. Even if it is just to talk." Itachi took a few seconds to look at Ichiro, his expression just as neutral as it was before. And yet, despite its flatness, the look Itachi gave Guren's capturer was significant. Itachi held the expression at Ichiro for a few more seconds before nodding ever so slightly again and disappearing into the night in a flurry of crows. Guren had enough of the vow of silence she had taken for a while. Why the hell was clan killer Itachi Uchiha here? Shit's confusing, right? The third person Ichiro captured asked. Guren recognized the voice as one of Orochimaru's trusted sound for. Tayuya of the North Gate, one of Orochimaru's strongest, was to Ichiro's catch. "He got your ass, I see." Unfortunately, Guren darkly admitted. "As did he you." Unfortunately, parroted Tayuya with a similar disgruntled look. "It's good you know each other. You'll have much to discuss on our way back home." "Your new homes, yes," chirped Ichiro cheerfully with a happy grin. The two clones nodded with similar smiles. "It's not a long trek from here. Then, I can be dispelled with the rest of my brethren. Good thing too. I'm feeling a bit taxed." "So, all this time, you defeated me with a clone?" Guren questioned, but already knowing the truth. She was out of her league fighting this man ever since the get-go. Don't feel too bad. I'm just stronger than you by a bit, that's all. Yeah, that's an understatement, scoffed Tayuya, summarizing the crystal release user's thoughts aptly. Never stood a fucking chance. Never mind that. I didn't get you two just so I can add more numbers to my nation. You two are now my people, as is Yukimaro-kun. You three have great potential that I want to nurture, so I'll be training you personally. I have high hopes for you three, especially you, Tayuya-chan. I just don't fucking get you, the crass Uzumaki girl uttered with a sigh. None of this is making sense to me. Why do you even have hopes for us? Guren couldn't help but agree. You are simply family, Tayuya-chan. As are you, Guren-san, Ichiro retorted, and his entourage moved back into the trees. Guren, Yukimaru, and Tayuya helplessly followed. Dawn had started to break through, and Ichiro was making sure no sentry from Konoha would find them. Guren would see where this homeland Ichiro had promised to take them. After a week or so of careful movement through the countries, Karen and her teammates had finally arrived at their destination. Right on the border of Taki and Kusa, right under the noses of ninjas from each side looking for interlopers of their countries. A cliff overlooked a large lake. The journey here was rough. To get here, they had to contend with 3 countries and 3 hidden villages. First, it was Ishii they passed through. It wasn't easy because Karen's team had to experience a natural phenomenon the ninja of Ishigekure called rock rain. From the mountain range of Tsuchi no Kuni, the wind blew small rocks south to any of Tsuchi's neighboring countries. Aim and Kusa experienced this phenomenon in the northern parts of their countries, but it was the weather type in all of Ishii. And it rained for quite a bit of time. Ishii no Kuni probably got its name because of the abundant showers of rock rain. Tatsuya had to create steel umbrellas for them to carry to avoid the rainfall. The umbrellas were heavy, but they served their purpose. Next, they entered Aim no Kuni. The stormy weather of the country was known throughout the continent. It always rained there at least one part of the week, and heavily at that. The northern parts of the country were filled with rivers and lakes of varying sizes. One lake they had to pass through to reach their destination was probably the biggest lake Karen had ever seen. It separated them from land for thousands of miles. They ran on the surface of the water until they made it back to the ground on the other side. All this while avoiding sentries from Amigekure of any kind. That village was extremely isolationist, and the shinobi they deployed were both short-tempered and paranoid, even more than the usual ninja. AIM ninjas were renowned for their tracking capabilities, and numbers in capable sensors. Karen burned quite a bit of chakra getting their chakra signatures low enough to escape detection. After finishing with Aim no Kuni, her team ventured out into Kusa no Kuni, making sure they used the cover of Kusa's megaflora to keep them from being detected by Kusa's border patrols. Kusagakure's village was not very far from the border, and Karen knew from experience that Kusa deployed their ANBU to keep out invaders from even setting forth in their country. Karen hated that feeling of trepidation in her stomach as they entered the country. She was long gone free from the land, and yet, it still shook her. Thankfully, it lasted not very long. They finally reached the edge of Kusa, landing somewhere on the border of it in Taki no Kuni, according to her map. At dawn, they had reached where they had to go, a cliffside overlooking a gigantic waterfall that dropped into an enormous lake. If one looked over the edge a bit further, one would see a lake that surrounded a mega-sized tree. Inside that tree hid away Taki. Opening her mind's eye, the Uzumaki teen sensed out Yui's Fuinjutsu, a complex seal that was placed on the side of an inconspicuous boulder. Here it is, Karen told her teammates. Placing her hand on the boulder, Karen directed her chakra into the stone, and a blue glowing seal with many symbols was revealed. She removed her hand from the boulder and put it onto her temple. Her teammates placed their right hand on their heads, and as Karen activated the contact seal on her arm, Tatsuya lightly gripped her forearm. The seal shortly contacted Yui, who picked up with, well. Was wondering when y'all would call me. Ready to go home now? Please, return us to our lands, Yui-sama. My team is tired, Tatsuya asked, not sharing Yui's light humor. I suppose I can give you And so, the waterfall cliff disappeared, along with the forest behind the team. There's a quick, jarring effect to Yui's teleporting ninjutsu that Karen could never quite get used to. At least she can keep from upchucking. Karen heard the familiar sounds of the waves crashing against the sandy beaches of this new locale. They were back in safe territory, due to the work of Yui Uzumaki's special technique, a spacetime ninjutsu/fuinjutsu the older Uzumaki woman had yet to name. Yui had teleported them back to Yuzu no Kuni, desecrated lands that once were the pride and joy of the Uzumaki people. Karen and her team walked off a special stone altar glowing in blue light. Every time anyone activated Yui's seal, they always were placed back onto the altar after Yui had used her ninjutsu. The receiver's seals glowed deadened until not a single trace of its existence remained. Tatsuya and Yumi looked ready to run back to the base as they walked with lots of pep in their steps, but Karen walked at a sedated pace as she took in the countryside, hypnotized by Yuzu as if it had been her first time here. The lands themselves were littered with burnt, ruinous buildings, weathered pillars of engraved spiral symbols stood from the ground. Old remains of banners depicting spirals and helixes, and anything that meant forever were faded and soon to wither away. Despite when the winds howled or when the waves of the ocean crashed against the beaches, there was an eerie silence. All of this wasn't right. She had time outside Yuzu now. She had visited many villages, bustling with life, and smells, and lights, and too much else to describe. Yuzu no Kuni was too silent. There was nothing else here. The status of Yuzu no Kuni was something that always filled Karen Uzumaki's heart with a complex combination of feelings. Sadness, hatred, and anger. It was a bitter reminder of what she didn't have the chance to experience. These lands were great once, until war and betrayal destroyed it, leaving it as nothing but ruins. She wanted nothing more but to see those who destroyed Yuzu suffer. However, buried underneath that hatred of the slaughterers of her motherland, there was still hope in Karen's heart. Her mother had, earlier on, taught her the spiral emblazoned on everything her clan placed on flags, buildings, and clothing meant that, it meant infinity. It meant that no matter what, the clan would thrive and go on forever. And in some ways, that was true. She was here, wasn't she? Living, breathing, and ready to do whatever she needed to do to bring this land back. This was her home. Perhaps she wasn't born here in this land, but this was her home. She was Uzumaki, a through and through. There wasn't anything here, but soon, she kept telling herself, soon, there would be something. Karen prayed she lived to see the day such a dream would be realized. However, until then, she and Yumi followed Tatsuya-sensei to an inconspicuous but large and withered pillar that was like the many that dotted Yuzu no Kuni. They remembered it because there was a uniquely shaped building next to it that looked like it belonged to some sort once great academy that took new shinobi acolytes in. On the pillar, as she applied chakra to it, bloomed a blue seal, complex and keyed only to those of Uzumaki blood. The pillar moved out of place, sliding across the ground without leaving a trace. It opened up a shaft. Karen bent down, sticking her hand into the tube, placing some more of her chakra into a newer seal. As she heard the telltale signs of the lift coming up, she stood up, looking at her companions. As per usual, as if she had not become tired of this, Yumi looked on with childlike wonder, muttering about how awesome seals were. Tatsuya-sensei, even with all his stoicism, had a small smile on his face. When the circle lift came up, both Tatsuya and Yumi got on it. The lift sat there waiting for her. When she did touch it with her feet, blue light glowed and the lift descended inside the hole. The orange light of the evening sky disappeared as the pillar moved into place. Blue sigils lit up the otherwise dark descent down. They hummed like how noisy electrical light from a fixture would. A few years back when she was younger, Karen would have been frightened and needed someone like her father, if he was around, or someone to ride with her on the lift. Now, as she found herself away from Yuzushio often on missions, Karen found the trips comforting. In a minute, the lift exited the tube and opened up to a grand view of the huge underground base of the survivor Uzumaki and their allies. She watched as a few people, Uzumaki or other people, scuttle around. A few children played on the main stone road, giggling and messing around while some people asked them to stop doing so because it wasn't exactly childproof. Avenues in the base gave way to more sections of the base. The underground base was once, according to Tatsuya-sensei, nothing more than a small place to house a few of them, and that's it. Now, however, it had many sections that reminded her of a settlement or even a small hidden village. Because it was. This was the village that existed underneath Yuzushio, New Yuzu. She stepped off the lift with her team and followed Tatsuya-sensei's sedated pace. Yumi chatted animatedly with their squad leader, who occasionally commented back to her but otherwise shared Karen's desire to stay quiet. Karen marveled at the base of New Yuzu as if she had to re-jog her memory of the hidden base underneath Yuzushio-gakure. It had been months since she had been gone from here. The base was fashioned with smooth dark brown rock walls, and the flooring was made of a gray stone to differentiate the two. Stone rooms were created with metal archways and a kanji to signify what kind of room it was. Metal piping combined with advanced seal work carrying electricity provided lighting for each place of the base and ran through the buildings. On the walls of the base, there existed a few more lifts that went up to the surface and allowed those who had to travel to the outside world to leave New Yuzu. Around 15 buildings existed. There was a building for a large kitchen/lunchroom that could allow people who wanted to eat there, where New Yuzu's cooks and chefs worked. Then, there was a building for a large workshop which was situated a few buildings down. Blacksmiths toiled away at metal works like weapons and armor, of course, but other smiths and craftsmen also made things such as furniture, tools, and kitchenware that people needed for living down here comfortably. Tatsuya-sensei himself had often lent his talents to the smiths to provide metal because outside of buying it and transporting it, and was known to be very handy with building things. There were a few other places that acted like storefronts, libraries, and other places to practice and study one's skills. Other places were reserved for their sensory squad to keep an eye on the base, as well as the guards to rest. Everything to emulate a village and make people feel comfortable. The last buildings were places where people lived, like apartment buildings she had seen in a few countries and hidden villages. These buildings housed those people who pledged themselves to the underground village. It was both those of Uzumaki blood and other non-Uzumaki people who had allied with their group. Missing nin or wandering shinobi who lived outside hidden villages, too weak to stand up against the villages or even offer their services to them as mercenaries. The Uzumaki clan head had gathered them all up to make up for the lacking force they currently had. Although the Uzumaki here eclipsed the non-Uzumaki people, it did not mean they were equipped with the old battle prowess of their once prominent clan. A lot of those who were Uzumaki were not warriors or shinobi like Karen and her group, just simply people who fought for survival and knew enough to hide their Uzumaki blood from people like ninjas from hidden villages, minor or not. Karen's mother had been like that once. Before she had joined New Yuzu, Karen, her mother, and her father had been simply civilians living in a dusty, small village in Kusa no Kuni. It was only when Kusagakure found out what they were that things changed. Her father had to shape up and become a shinobi like his ancestors. Her mother had been forced to become a healer. Karen herself was too young at the time to be of service to Kusa, but after her mother died, she bit her lip, trying to dash away those memories that made her heart hurt and her eyes burn with tears. She itched at the scars on her arms. But it was okay, she reasoned to herself. She was no longer Kusagakure's pawn, her father made sure of that. Ichiro-sama too made sure of that. She would feel better if Kusa was a smoking ruin on the map. Maybe that would take away some of the anger she felt. But her father and the Uzumaki clan leader made sure to deal a heavy hand of justice to Kusa before they left, so she could find solace in that. After all, the village was still recovering. Karen and her team traveled down the main road of New Yuzu. Tatsuya was the stoic man she knew him as, a type of person who only spoke when he deemed it needed. Yumi was still marveling at the village. Hey, Tatsuya Shisho, doesn't it feel like every time we leave, this place keeps getting bigger and bigger? More people are coming to us, wanting to be united under our banner, their team leader replied. So, more buildings are being built. They were right, of course. New Yuzu was growing, pulsating with life. More and more each day, these apartments were getting filled up. Another stone building would have to be erected if these numbers continued to rise. While it was good that people of many creeds were coming to join them, Karen wanted more of her own people to be found. There were still so many Uzumaki people left in the world. Even from a distance, Karen could see one of the village's main attractions. Close to the edge of the village, there was a reddish-brown stone statue that rested at the footsteps of a stone staircase. The statue depicted the proud symbol of the Uzumaki, a bright red-colored spiral with the words etched on the base of the sculpture that read, "And so, we shall rise again." Karen remembered playing and hanging around the statue for hours before the light detectors alerted people that it was nighttime, and the base's lights were dimmed to simulate night. She would walk up to the Uzumaki clan house and sit on the stone steps until she went to sleep. This underground base was Karen's home. It was a reminder that this simulation village here could become a reality above ground, where it would be grand, and the Uzumaki would stand tall. It would not be long until Yuzushiogakure was ready to rise again. Then, they would not need to hide anymore. Thus, this was the mission of Spiral, the secret organization of the remnants of the Uzumaki clan. They walked past the red spiral statue and beheld the soul building on top of the steps, the clan house of the Uzumaki. They climbed the steps and reached the top, and found that they were greeted by one person. The woman they had spoken to only 15 minutes ago. Yui nodded at them first. Yui was an attractive woman nearly matching Tatsuya in age, only slightly older. She was a relatively tall woman with a lithe figure Karen could only hope to gain with age, with fiery red haircut in a stylish bob, a beauty mark on her right cheek, and emerald green eyes. "Yui-sama," Tatsuya acknowledged the Uzumaki woman first, before performing a light bow for her. "Father must be out and about doing something if he wasn't right behind you." Yui huffed, showing annoyance. "I don't understand why you bow so much to the Uzumaki, Tatsuya. Or to me. Your father is both an Uzumaki and the clan leader, after all." "I am not of the blood truly, so I bow, Yui-sama," he explained. A ghost of an amused smile appeared on his face. Yui, on the other hand, rolled her eyes. "Even if you are adopted, you are still the clan leader's son. Even continuing to give us titles despite us merely being the Lords of Ruins. Even after our father's behest to not do so, especially to your sibling, you persist," deadpanned the woman. Karen smiled, enjoying their little banter. She could hear the small chuckle from Tatsuya. He straightened up. "I suppose I am hard-headed, sister." "I suppose you are right," Yui sassed, not being able to hold back a smile. She then planted a hug on the steel release user. "Welcome home, little brother. I am glad you have made it home in one piece." Yumi harumphed. "What are we then? Chopped liver?" "You know that extends to you as well, Yumi-chan. And Karen-chan as well." Yui gave them a pretty smile as well as a hug. Yui motioned them to come with her inside the house. "Father has been quite busy. In your absence, he tended to some business in Oto no Kuni." "For what?" "There is nothing to gain in that old snake's land," Tatsuya commented, referencing the snake sage Orochimaru. "Oh, but for what else? Our first objective is the most important one." "He has found another Uzumaki clan's person? And I assume this is all being done alone?" Tatsuya shook his head. "Was done alone," Yui corrected, giving a half-hearted shrug. "He has returned home not too long ago." "Pride before the fall," Tatsuya said, frowning. His sister frowned right back at him. "This is what he's been doing even before we were born, so I don't understand why you're being a worrywart," she reasoned. "You know he has to recruit and save our people, Tatsuya. He's the only one that can do it. You know he can handle himself. It is not about whether or not he can't handle him, it's about him needing to take it easier. He's sick. I would have thought father would have sent simply us or sent Jintaro-kun or maybe the twins. Father really should have sent others to go, or at least waited until we came back. None of you have the Kagura Shingon, besides Karen-chan and Keikun. And none of you have father's prowess with it. I know that, you know that. Everyone else would have to turn up the continent just to find more Uzumaki. Our father isn't going to die before he sees his dream happen. You know how stubborn that man is. Besides, Jintaro and his twins weren't options. They were sent to handle that business in Kirigakure a little bit after you and your girls left on your missions. They succeeded, by the way. Yumi nodded. Right, I remember them being sent out there while we went to go after Gaara. So that means the war is over in Mizu no Kuni, Karen commented. Yui nodded. That and some more new things have worked in our favor, hopefully. We all have our roles to play. There aren't many trained fighters in New Yuzu, barring the ninjas that joined us from other clans. Yui turned back to Tatsuya, uttering, outside our father, you, Jinkuan, Juin-Pikuan, the twins, Karen, and Yumi-chan, are the only ones trusted for our major missions too. The other shinobi outside our clan still have to prove themselves. As for our clan, a lot of our current Uzumaki brethren were never versed in combat. We are still training those who want to learn. Tatsuya took a moment to digest that and nodded at his sister. True words. Though, from what father has been telling me, we have 3 new additions to our group. 2 of them I am sure you will meet soon enough. One of them father is dying for you to meet, I seen it in his face. Yui rolled her eyes. He managed to get 3 people to come here? And he wants me to meet one personally? Tatsuya rubbed his chin in consideration. I see he has been busy. Where has he gone now? I assume he isn't here. He's out in the country with the new girls and boy. Showing them around, maybe training them. You are welcome to eat though, Tatsuya. You have had a long journey. Dinner will be out soon. Knowing you though, Yui stopped to sigh. I'm guessing you want to skip all that to see father. I do have to debrief him on what happened. Ever the stickler. Hardhead. Well, come along, Karen-chan, Yumi-chan. Make your butts to the kitchen. Aye, Captain. Yumi gave her a mock salute, as did Karen, albeit weakly because she was too busy trying to hold back her giggles. Yui rolled her eyes and shooed them into the clan house. The Uzumaki woman addressed Tatsuya again with half-lidded eyes. Little brother, check the usual spot where father trains at. Use the lift in father's office. On that night, madmen from the fields of Oto no Kuni poured into the country of Hai no Kuni. Not ninjas, closer to beasts. They cackled and screeched and roared like animals, demons, even. Their appearances became ghoulish enough to be equated as such. All shaped differently, vaguely human, all using Orochimaru's foul-cursed seal. Ebisu had recalled he had been assigned 2 weeks to the border, assigned to a Jonin leader he had not been well acquainted with, but he knew her name. A well-respected name as well. Now, she stared at him with lifeless eyes, body still. She was one of many, unfortunately. There were still so many monstrous men coming in. He and a few others were killing them with whatever they had, but the platoon of 50 ninjas was eventually overwhelmed. People he grew up with died in droves. He had thought he had died himself when he fell and his vision swam until he blacked out. Before he knew it, he had awoken, face and head pounding. He was being carried by someone, but he could not remember their face. He could have sworn he heard a familiar voice in between that time, one he hadn't heard in at least a decade. Ebisu felt like the person's voice was from someone he knew, but the name was on the tip of his tongue. It escaped him, but the way his head was feeling at that time, a lot of things did. When he finally came back to his senses, he had woken inside a nearby small village a few days later by himself. Juntomura, it was called. He recognized it because the border patrol team passed by it one night on their way to the border and camped outside its outskirts. Juntomura was way too far from Konoha, but far enough from the Hyoto border. The village medic, an older gentleman there, had said someone found him and brought them there. When he tried to get the name of the person who found him at the border and brought him to Juntomura, the medic could not produce the name but said it had been a male with dark hair. Ebisu had a broken arm, something that required surgery, and the medic there didn't have the medical expertise or tools to fix the fracture in the hamlet. All the medic had was herbs that could soothe and take the edge of the pain off him for a few hours. As if he needed more luck on his side, Ebisu had been saved from the uncomfortable task of getting back in one piece to Kanahagakure by himself. By happenstance, a Konoha Chunin, who had a mission that took him to Juntomura, found him in the village and escorted him back to Konoha. And so, here he had been, able to regale the tale back to his Hokage and Tsunade-sama. Jiraiya-sama had given him a grimace and a platitude of being glad that Ebisu had made it home, one the Tokubetsu Jonin accepted wholeheartedly. He too was glad to be alive. They had said he needed to rest, and that was something Ebisu would have agreed with. But there was an uncontrollable urge, something that burned in him like a need. He was never one to forsake his health, taking very careful control of himself when he was hurt, but he desired to leave the hospital soon enough. And when he did, he would seek out Naruto Uzumaki for no other thing other than to do one thing, to train him. For reasons unfathomable even to him. Present day. Fuck it, let me try it again. Naruto held the leaf and concentrated again, trying to summon his chakra so he could manipulate it the way he wanted. His chakra went up, expectedly, and he split it into two within his body. Then, he grinded it together. Slow and steady always allowed him to learn these techniques, especially went well with his earth release and Rasengan training. Unfortunately, besides a minuscule cut on the edge of the leaf, and he was pretty sure he physically did that himself with the way he was holding the delicate thing, there was not a split in the leaf. Oh, yeah, there it is, Naruto thought to himself as he threw his hands up and let the leaf he was working on fly away. That's it, I'm pissed. The teen breathed out a curse. Damn it all. I'm hitting a roadblock here in my training. It had been a week since he had been back and the Uzumaki teen had enjoyed it. It had opened up plenty of opportunities to train once more, especially with developing newer things. He had just finished a day of training with the Hokage. Despite the grueling nature of it all, especially since Jiraiya was back on his slave driver shit, Naruto had found his drive helped give him enough energy to head to an area. He was determined to get to some separate ninjutsu training that didn't involve his master's instructions. This usually consisted of creating shadow clones so they could work on his ninjutsu repertoire, as well as creating newer stuff. Today was no different, and today, he decided to get back into learning a newer element, futon. Naruto had started to do so in Suna but hadn't gone far since he only could train for an hour or so. Now that he was back at home, with the space to experiment and throw caution into the wind, he tried hard to get it, only to come back with paltry results. A part of Naruto said to go to Jiraiya and just see if the man could train him in wind release, but a more stubborn part of him wanted to see if he could figure it out on his own. The Uzumaki was also somewhat afraid Jiraiya would treat it as not as important as the rest of his training and put it on the sideline, more concerned with getting Naruto's skills with using the fox's chakra and seals up to par. So, Naruto would train this by himself. Besides, Naruto took it upon himself to read up some more on the training, and it was only 2 steps to this element. He had to make his chakra fine and even enough to split the leaf in half. After that, he had to add power to it and split a damn waterfall in half with wind. The jump was insane, he knew. The problem was that his wind creation was extremely weak. His chakra did not split in two evenly, and even when he did get that down, grinding it many times over was damn near impossible. And he felt like he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was taking it slowly, making sure of that. Yet, his chakra still didn't want to play nice. What am I doing so wrong? Elemental aversion. Wait, what? A familiar person spoke up at Naruto's left side. You have heard of elemental affinity, the phenomenon that allows a shinobi's chakra to be aligned with at least one element. 2 or more if you have access to a Kekkai Genkai that can use 2 elements. 3 if you are like the Tsuchikage and his Jin-Tun Kekkai Tota, but even he does not have more than 3. Do you know the reason why there is very little shinobi in the history of the elemental countries that mastered all elements? It is mostly because of our bodies. Our chakra systems are complex and unique to ourselves. No 2 people's chakra systems are the same, no matter how close their familial ties are. Not even if they are twins. Every chakra system has different affinities and different aversions. Elemental aversion makes it very hard for one to create an element, let alone control it if our chakra, in a way, does not desire to produce it. Like the body rejecting a foreign object or the immune response coming up to deal with a virus, our chakra refuses to create an element, because it goes against one's chakra nature. And it is completely random. One can have an affinity for water, a neutrality to every other element, and an aversion to lightning, whether partially or completely. Ebisu-sensei, huh? I knew it was you as soon as you started your long-winded lecturing, smiled Naruto, speaking in a teasing tone. His gaze turned to one Ebisu, who had approached the boy with his arm in a sling. Naruto raised an eyebrow, looking up at his teacher with confusion, not at the injury but at the newer concept introduced to him. But that covered my question. Elemental aversion, you said? So, what, it's impossible to master futon for me? Not impossible, just it will be very difficult, even with heavy usage of the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. It already takes a while to learn an element, I imagine it doubly worse for someone who has an element their chakra system opposes. You will have to work very hard at getting at a decent level of futon, but it is possible. Crap. Well, damn, I'll keep that in mind, Naruto replied, frowning to himself about that tidbit. Anyway, what are you doing here and what happened to your arm? The man smiled wryly. Unfortunately, the invasion a week ago happened. I was at the border, on a patrolling mission, when Oto ninjas attacked us. Someone got a good shot in with some ninjutsu, and it broke my arm cleanly. I think I fell as well since I woke up with a concussion. I was lucky to make it back, but most of them there did not, from what I heard. Damn bastards. Indeed. Ebisu sighed. I am off active duty until I recover from my broken arm and concussion, so that gives me some time in the village to help others. I seem to recall you needing my help with Doton ninjutsu before. I doubt you need my help with that, but seeing as you are starting on a newer element, I thought I would lend my expertise. Sensei, I appreciate the offer, but your hiring fee is kinda out of my pay rate right now. Naruto trailed off, rubbing the back of his head. He still remembered the huge rate of Ryo per training session Ebisu demanded in his trainer book. Should call him 6 zeros Ebisu at this point. Ebisu stifled a chuckle. How about I write out a more affordable price for you, Naruto-kun? He produced a paper and pen. He wrote down the figure and gave it to the Uzumaki, who scanned the number almost suspiciously. Is this more to your liking? It was, as it was generous. Maybe too generous. You sure you're okay with that number, Ebisu-sensei? You do need to eat and pay rent too, you know? How thoughtful, but I am fine with that. I am not going to be active for a while and I have plenty of money to suffice me until my arm is completely good. And it won't interfere with your other jobs? Or even seeing after Konohamaru? This invasion and the invasion that happened in the Chunin exams have made my clientele a little sparser, I fear, Ebisu admitted with a small frown. Like many other Chunin and Jonin, they are being sent on far more rigorous missions and cannot spare the time for one-on-one training like before. Some clients I have lost due to timing issues or, worse, to death. 3 Chunin I was training had been found Kia. Oh. Sorry about that. I have lost a few of my students, some were even my friends. The border thinned them out even further. Ebisu's frown deepened, his brows knitting in frustration and sorrow. One of them was I. Sarutobi clan member, directly related to young Konohamaru himself. A favorite cousin of his, I believe. Naruto paled. Ebisu nodded, understanding his response. Indeed. The boy is again taking time off from his training to mourn. Naruto sighed, feeling down himself now. Damn, sorry Konohamaru. I gotta see how is he doing later. I am sure he would appreciate that, but I digress. This is what I can offer to you, Naruto-kun. I am uninterested in lining up my pockets, but I do desire to prepare you for the future. Yes, I see it like this, I see great potential in you, Naruto-kun. I want to extract out that potential and foster it. You are a part of the newer generation after all, I see your generation potentially becoming stronger than mine. It does not have to be every day as your training with the Hokage takes precedence over this. However, it is still something you should think about. The boy grinned excitably. While he didn't quite understand why Ebisu was so insistent on helping him, Naruto couldn't deny the offer. Well, I won't look at a gift horse in the mouth, plus I still got money from some of my other missions. I'll accept it. Do you think you can help me with my wind training then? Ebisu gave him an apologetic smile. No, I am sorry. You may have forgotten, but my nature types are fire, earth, and water, so the other elements are out of my reach. Are you dead set on learning futon? Naruto huffed disappointedly, nodding his head. I would like to learn to control wind because it's a counter to lightning release, Earth's main weakness. Smart, Ebisu mused, nodding approvingly. The blonde shrugged. Yeah, but, really, I guess it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I need an offensive element. Earth is good and all, but it excels more at learning defensive techniques, right? The earth element can be used in both ways, but yes, most earthen techniques lean into more defensive or supplementary roles. However, both fire and water release can be much more offensively used, especially fire. It will suit you well to learn either one of those, provided you do not have an elemental aversion to them. I would suggest starting with water release personally. Why? That was oddly specific of the man to suggest that one. Didn't you just say fire was more offensive? I need more offensive elemental techniques. Water has more utility in it, compared to fire techniques. I know you want an offensive element, but water works well both offensively and defensively, and you might find that fact can help you a lot in battle. I find the element of water to sit comfortably in the middle of the two extremes of offense and defense. Naruto sounded, thinking it over carefully. Well, it wasn't too bad of an idea. While he had seen the power of fire release techniques being used thanks to Sasuke, he hadn't seen fire being used defensively, like to create a shield or something. Water could create prisons like how Kakashi was trapped in one from Zabuza a few months back, create clones, or even make waterfalls to attack an enemy. Alrighty then, let's do water. Splendid, Ebisu chirped, tapping Naruto's shoulder again in a pleased way. Let us begin then. He nodded but tempered his expectations. This was probably going to be just as disappointing as his failed wind release training. Much to his surprise, he had the basics down for water release down by a single day. Naruto was confused, but Ebisu had only smiled. Feeling it in her hands, Sakura patted the trainer book she had gotten recently, thinking it was a blessing Naruto decided to pop up when he did. The boy had returned from his mission in Sunagakure and went to visit her. By that time, she had been out of the hospital. Besides telling Sasuke she was going to do better for him and her team, Sakura did not try to seek out people she knew and went straight off to training on her own. She wouldn't say she didn't want to see people, but she avoided them. Maybe because she wanted to do like Naruto and Sasuke had done and become independent in her training, maybe because she was ashamed of them seeing her. The Haruno teen had thought by the time she saw them again that she would have some new tricks in the book, but she had hit a wall early in her training and had stopped only at mastering the water walking exercise before she knew she still could not attempt to use a low-level genjutsu or even start the steps of medical ninjutsu. It frustrated her, until Naruto had given her a new out. Here, he had said that day, holding a blue book in front of her. This is a book on all of the trainers in the villages that you can hire. Ebisu-sensei gave it to me when I was training with him for the Chunin Exams. Never got around to using it, and I don't think I need to use it anymore. It'll be put in good hands. Sakura remembered feeling touched and also guilty. So guilty. Naruto, I appreciate, but why are you trying so hard to help me? He looked confused. What do you mean, Sakura-chan? I mean, she bit her lower lip. I'm not exactly a good friend to you, Naruto. I've been pretty mean to you for these past months. I don't think I ever was nice to you to begin with. Huh? You really don't get it, do you? Sakura shook her head, almost exasperated with him. It doesn't take a genius to know I treated you poorly. I didn't like you. Not since we had to be together on Team 7. I mocked you, hit you, called all sorts of things behind your back, and thought you were nothing but a pest to me and Sasuke-kun. You deserve the right to not try to help me. Really? Because I always saw it as me just annoying you and Sasuke with my antics, so I never held it against you. Naruto sighed, a wry smile on his face. You're my friend, Sakura, regardless. Why wouldn't I want to help you get better as a ninja? You know, I don't exactly agree with Sasuke screaming at you like that. But I think I deserve that. She looked down. The girl sagged, arms dangling almost boneless in the air. Why do I deserve your help? I haven't done much for myself ever since I became a genin. Look at you and Sasuke, matter of fact, let's just look at you. You're a far cry from what you were in the academy. You're a Chunin now, out there going on big missions, and training with the Hokage. You learned Earth Release and got a plethora of techniques under your belt. Look at me though. I've been doing nothing since I got out of school, and you and Sasuke-kun been pulling my weight ever since then. I haven't applied myself, I haven't asked Kakashi-sensei much for help, hell, never asked you for help before. I doubt I got a right to ask you. Silence began, not something she expected. Sakura looked up to Naruto, disquieted by a rare expression displayed on Naruto's face, sullenness. Why do you think I should resent you, Sakura? Because I don't get it. No one on the team resents you, not me, not Kakashi-sensei. Not even Sasuke resents you. Sure, he went about telling you in a bad way to get better at being a ninja, but he doesn't resent you. He's just frustrated with you. I'm starting to get there with you too, actually. Because why do you think you're undeserving of anything? I offered because I want to help you. I want you to be right next to me and Sasuke and say, we're the best Konoha has to offer. Look at us. His face softened. Look, you're angry at yourself at what happened, and I get it, but all you take this as a wake-up call. I had it back in Nami no Kuni, you know, and again recently when I came back from this mission. You can't go back and change the past, so all you can do now is move forward. It's not too late for you to improve. Even if that whiny bastard Uchiha doesn't want to help you, I do. Why? Because you are my friend. Get it? Now, are you willing to let me help you or do you want to do it on your own? Because I can respect that. We choose our own paths, Sakura. Naruto finished his speech with a shrug. Sakura paused. She then lifted her hand and took the blue book from him. The girl finished thinking over what happened in her head, a small smile gracing her lips. Naruto was a lot of things, especially an idiot at times. But no one could call him an asshole. He was sweet in his own way. He also was a good friend, something she had no experience replicating. Kakashi-sensei had not still been in the village to check on her. Sasuke had not tried to do so, and she understood, so she didn't expect Naruto to seek her out. Yet, he did, with a smile on his face and saying he heard what Sasuke had told her. And Naruto did what he did best, invigorate a person with his energy, stealing one's resolve simply by just saying something along the lines of, do your best next time. Sakura knew he meant it. Naruto was a good guy, a pillar to lean on. Sakura never realized it before. Naruto's crush on her had been irritating, as she felt it clashed often with her crush on Sasuke. It was like a gnat bothering and flying and buzzing around her. She ignored his strengths and doubled down on his flaws. However, Naruto was nothing if not the most genuine person she had ever met before. His energy was too infectious for the Haruno girl not to be affected by it. And she was very sure he did that not because of his attraction for her, but because he simply cared about her well-being. She was even sure he would do that for all of his friends. Sakura felt horrible about how she treated him, but she could not let it blind her. If anything was to take from this, it was to not let Naruto's efforts on her go to waste. She had taken the first steps and hired a tutor. This afternoon, Sakura was off to see one Yakumo Kurama for instructions in Jinjutsu. If that did not work out, she had an eye on a medical ninjutsu specialist that was in the trainer book as well. That's enough for today, Sasuke, Kakashi called out to his student. Let's take a look at you now. Looking at you, I can see your Sharingan has fully evolved to its 3-tomo state. Looking like mine already. HM. It should have been the opposite, me already having the 3-tomo, and you finally getting them. Or, really, not at all. Don't sound too salty now. I have had a lot of experience using this eye, you know. Kakashi pointed at it behind his headband. The silver-haired man gave his student an encouraging smile underneath his blue mask. Well, besides your Kekkei Genkai, I'd say you've picked up a lot of ninjutsu from me and made it your own. You already had a masterly grasp over Katon ninjutsu back since the exams started, and now, I can say you have mastered your Raiton. You're starting to make techniques on your own now. Soon, you'll have me running to the hills with your prowess in them. Sasuke gave a small smile. Oomph, that won't be for a while, but thanks. Deactivating the Sharingan, he sighed, happy his chakra reserves got a reprieve from the intense training. He sat down on a log, peering at the darkening skies of the evening. So, what now? You're running off to another mission? The Jonin heaved a sigh himself. Unfortunately. Don't get like me, kid. Become too important and prestigious in this village, and you're on everyone's hire list. Always the first one to call, always the last one home. Sasuke huffed, wiping his forehead of sweat. At least you get some good fights in. Ways to test and try out your techniques on strong opponents. That response had Kakashi sighing again, this time in a melodramatic fashion. Oh, to be young again. I've grown past the testing stage. That doesn't quite give me the rush anymore, my dear Sasuke. Kakashi took out his usual smutty book, thumbing through the pages. A man grows tired of being sent on battles and hard missions. I much prefer the little quirkier stuff that doesn't have much action. At least, compared to suicide runs and search and destroy quests. I can't wait until things die back down and I can go back to hiding out in the village from the limelight. The Uchiha only offered the Hatake a non-committal hum. Sasuke's eyes looked up as he heard a sound and he saw a plume of smoke appear. In his hands, dropped 2 scrolls. The Uchiha clicked his tongue. Back to these, I see. Yeah, gonna be gone for a few weeks. Don't slack on your training. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at the stupid comment. Do you know who you're talking to? Kakashi chuckled, ruffling the Uchiha boy's black hair. I guess I forgot then. Alright, I'm off. Be a good boy now. Ta-ta. The Jonin disappeared in a shunshin, leaving Sasuke to his thoughts. He was unsurprised by Kakashi's abrupt exit. Yep, this was starting to become a common, occurring thing now. Sasuke would get a bit of training in with his Jonin sensei and then, Kakashi would be out of the village. Yet, this is what Sasuke had chosen. There would be no more outside interference from Orogekure, he was sure. Even Orochimaru, behind that wall matrix of his cursed seal, could only whisper at times mockingly at Sasuke for supposedly choosing wrong. There were times this week that he was indeed frustrated. Kakashi had just gotten back from a mission nearly 5 days ago and again, he was off to another one. Kakashi hadn't even jumped back into the training right away either, only seeking out Sasuke on his second day back. He could sense that this would be a pattern because it had been ever since the Chunin exams concluded. He could have chosen to follow Orochimaru to parts unknown, but the alternative option beat that path of uncertainty and betrayal. It took him some thinking to truly admit it to himself, but the last Uchiha of Konoha did have people here that were dear to him. He had not lied to Naruto in the hospital, Sakura and him were Sasuke's friends. Even Kakashi was someone close to him, almost like a kooky uncle or, dare he say it, an older brother. He hadn't forgotten Kakashi's words to him when he was reprimanding him for his and Naruto's fight, and Team 7 had indeed started to fill the hole inside his heart a while ago. He couldn't just leave them, or the village. Yet, the thirst for vengeance against his clan slayer lingered, it still gripped Sasuke's heart. It burned and boiled inside his blood. How could he forget it when for years it fueled him? Everything he hated pointed straight to his murderous brother. It was even disgusting for him to call Itachi that. And the Hokage encouraged Sasuke to go after Itachi, hadn't he? He had told him to get stronger in 3 years and then he could see about Itachi. He had heard whispers from passing by Chunin and Jonin when he was walking the streets of Konoha. The Uchiha clan slayer had indeed made it into the village earlier this week, the night that Otogekure invaded to capture Sasuke. Did the man wish to assassinate the Hokage in the mix, but instead only got the village elder counselors? Worse, he heard Itachi had killed not only them but Anbu as well. Angry hissing from ninjas from restaurants and streets he frequented, he had learned this knowledge. Beyond vengeance, this was supposed to be justice. Itachi was evil incarnate and he had to be put down. It was just that Sasuke was up to the task now. 3 years. I'll give Konoha and my team 3 more years of me. Then I'll find a way to Itachi and finish this, he thought to himself resolutely. Even if Kakashi-sensei is still doing missions, I'll find some way to gain power. Just hopefully from this village. But I need to figure it out. He looked at the house he had called his home, now disintegrated and burned down with a troubling ambivalence. His time serving en route was short and just as brutal. The things he did as a child to secure his position in the organization were something not many people could ever claim they had to do, nor wanted to do, and yet, he did them. But after Root was forcibly dissolved, he was one of the few survivors and was reassigned as being Danzo's main caretaker. Those who did survive always were still around watching over Danzo as well. A few of these elite men and women, those who had not killed themselves after Root's sudden destruction and the purpose of their lives being stolen from them, had reintegrated back into society, still loyal to Danzo and his teachings. Those who were not were hunted down and killed or set up on missions and killed out in the country or beyond. Because in their hearts, Root lived with them. Root still had their goals. One day, they hoped to restart. There was a secret consensus between them that one day, they would eliminate the Sandaime Hokage somehow. He didn't believe that to be possible, but for years, all they had to do, could do, was keep out of trouble and scheme in secret. But as Itachi had returned and killed off many of them, that dream had ended. Specific targets in the village who kept active as Anbu. Those in the Anbu that were formerly Root led their team to their untimely deaths. 3 people were to blame for this. First, Itachi. Second, a dead Sandaime in the name of Hiruzen Sarutobi. Finally, the Uzumaki who they could not name out loud because of the cursed seal on their tongues. The last of Root felt the pressure. Ex-ninja and those who took jobs that kept them out of the limelight of Konoha rose to act now. Sai had seen faces he hadn't seen in years. Some wore olden masks of Root that he recognized, others wore the regular short jacket attire of Root. All wore the same determination, a last stand on their mind. We are going to go after Itachi, Saikuen. We have ways to seek him out. Tonight, we leave Konoha to find him and get our revenge. For Danzo-sama, for the roots that live underneath the great tree. One Fu Yamanaka declared, which began a cheer between the men. They had all broken free of their emotional condition, it seemed. Because they all had spite, anger, and vengeance on their minds. Sai's conditioning had been incomplete and the years spent as Danzo's main caretaker further that. Despite the Shimura giving Sai help with his ninja training and other teachings, Danzo had not completed Sai's dampening of his emotions. Which was why Sai did not know how to truly feel. Danzo was a harsh taskmaster, one who had made Sai do things he probably should have never done. All for the will of Konoha to go on forever. But it had been so, hadn't it? Even after the Shimura's death, even after the invasion Otogekure had tried, Konoha was still going on strong, its will of fire still burning. They too could continue, keep living. But Sai could see they already thought they were dead already. Either they killed Itachi and become missing Nins, or they were killed by Itachi, Root was finished. Was Sai dead with them? While the desire to live and survive had been a big previous factor to him, the programmed loyalty to the foundation under Kanahagakure and him had said to go where Danzo and the rest of Root had gone. So, all Sai did was nod and suit up.
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.